Jonathan, thanks for your time. When we last met, we was for the launch of Burning Man.
Yep.
This film was like a quantum leap, really, in so many dimensions, perhaps other than the number of edits involved. How did it come about from your for your involvement?
Well, I've been involved for probably about 4 years, although the actual from the buying of the rights originally by the producer Bill Curbishley in the UK. That was about 15 years ago. So I knew all the people involved, and one of my closest friends was the original director on it, which is how it passed to me. And he was unable to do it, and so I was sort of aware of the project and aware of the story, but not in any kind of great detail. When I was given the opportunity to read it, it really struck me as, just what an incredible, dynamic, powerful story it was. And the thing that really struck me was that it just seemed to me to be about the best and worst of human nature, what we're capable of as human beings. And so in a way it was a film about sort of that sort of thorny question, what is it to be a human being? And I love that sort of big theme, meaty theme about it. And so I thought, wow, this is potentially a great movie in this. And so that's how I got involved really. And then I started doing a bit of work on the script with the writers, and then I sent the script to Colin Firth, and he read it very quickly, and came back very quickly and said, basically with his reaction was, this is a character I have to play. He couldn't sort of say no in a way because as you can imagine, this is a character who's just the potential for the depth of him in portraying him on the screen is fantastic. And
tell us about how she got involved, but also for her there must have been challenges because the role in this is somewhat opposite to what she normally presents, which is a very confident, outward going woman, and this is a very reserved, caring,
internal sort of role.
Maternal. So, maternal role.
Yeah.
Tell us about how her involvement came about and those challenges for her, do you think?
Well, I mean, her involvement came about because, firstly, when Colin and I sat down to talk about who we should look at for that role, he actually suggested Nicole, and I've always been really impressed with Nicole's ability in a lot of the work she's done to access the emotional landscape of a character, and I think she has a face that just lights up the screen, and I find it an incredibly. Number one, I always felt this film, The Railway Man, was an intimate film. It's about the fall of Singapore and the internment of all these millions of prisoners and all this sort of stuff. But actually, it's about two relationships: one between Eric and Paddy Lomax, and one between Eric and Nagase, his Japanese tormentor. So it's quite an intimate film. So I liked the idea of visually and emotionally of a lot of close-up faces in this that you then contrast with the sort of wide scope of the railway and the building of the railway and the war and stuff like that. So Nicole really had always impressed me by her ability to, in very subtle and nuanced ways, access that emotional landscape. And the film is about two quite reserved's not quite the right word, but it's not overt in their expression and what have you, particularly Eric, who doesn't speak, or certainly doesn't speak about his experiences. And it needed, to avoid melodrama, to avoid hysteria, to avoid sentimentality, it needed to have a great human sort of connection with those characters. And Nicole, when I first spoke to her, she loved the script, well, loved the story in as much as she felt it succinctly captured the price you pay to love someone when they're damaged and when they're needing your help and don't quite know what. And I thought that was a really sort of potent and simple way of describing what Paddy Lomax's character has to go through. And Nicole just her ability to access those things was what really drew me to her. And you put a face like Nicole has got on the big screen, it's such a powerful sort of iconic image in a way that it tells you so much of the story.
You mentioned the sort of balancing of the personalities and relationships and so forth, but I suspect one of the most challenging scenes for you was the Hellfire Pass scene at the conclusion.
Yes.
To do with this issue of not that it becomes sort of schmaltzy
totally.
or whatever. How challenging did that finish up being, putting that scene together?
You know, I think when you're dealing with a true story, what you're always trying to do is, regardless what it is, you know, it's often why films fail or don't quite make what they're trying to do and to get to where they want to get to. And that is because so often, whether it's a comedy or a horror film or whatever, it's about trying to create the emotional truth and the emotional world of that film. And I just felt that it was such powerful material that the last thing we need to do is over-push it and overblow it. And so I just tried to stick really simply to kind of the engagement between them, not override it, not give the characters too much to say. It would be so easy to have that last scene where they talk endlessly about this, that and the other, and about, you know, in inverted commas, meaningful things, when in fact it's such a human story, such a human response and such a human engagement between those two men. Instinctively I felt that would be more palpable, more engaging, more able for the audience to take it on board, and a greater experience for the audience, because, you know, so often it's about what is not said, not you know, what is said. And so I had great confidence. You know, when you actually go and stand in those cuttings and reflect, whether consciously or otherwise, about what had gone on, how they were built, the context of their building, the suffering that went on there. You know, they're tombs to a lot of souls in many ways, and you know, I can only, you know, you can't put your finger on exactly what it is, but you can only surmise that some of that energy, some of that potency ends up, when you take a camera there and you film actors doing that material, that will be part of the storytelling energy of the film. And I think the power of that last scene very much bears that out.
Well, thanks for your time. Congratulations on the film, and I hope it does very well when it opens.
Thank you.
Boxing Day and maybe for awards follow it.
We'll see.